Morning, everyone. Welcome to the Monday morning business meeting of the BOCC. We'll just get right into agenda items. HR.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jessica Warren, Human Resources. I have a few requests for you this morning. The first comes from Risk Management. They have a risk analyst who's accepted a position, and we're requesting to start them at step 2 with 1 week vacation.
Okay.
Thank you. Next item comes from the event center. One of their event coordinators has put in her resignation and they're requesting to fill her position.
Replacement.
Yes,
Would
she's
you-
moving to a part-time position.
Would you repeat that again, please? Sorry.
Yeah, one of their event coordinators has put in her resignation. So they'd like to refill her position.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. And then last item I have comes from Public Works. One of their accounting specialists 2s has put in her resignation, so they'd like to refill her position.
Yeah.
Good.
Good, okay.
Yep.
Thank you, and that's all I have this morning.
Wow. No executive session, no anything?
Nope.
Wow. Okay.
Thank you.
Risk management.
Good morning, I'm Jeremy Austin, I'm risk manager.
Good
It's
morning.
nice to see you in person.
Nice to see you.
I'd like to just bring to your attention that I'll be meeting the 7th with the sheriff and our emergency manager and a couple of the other elected officials who were affected directly by mail assault. And so we're going to get together to come up with some best practices to manage the mail prior to an incident happening and also to be prepared if an incident does happen.
Okay, could you speak closer to the
Into the
microphone?
microphone,
with
sorry.
With a little more,
Do I need to say the whole thing over?
no, I think you said you're gonna meet with several department heads to discuss how you want to handle the mail
Yes, sir. Both
before they get their hands on it.
indeed, and
Yeah.
try to create some best practices prior to an incident happening, and then heaven forbid, if an incident does happen, how we would manage that.
So what does that look like for an event that is extremely rare, but we don't know if it'll happen?
So that what I'm trying to narrow down are what the likely methods of assault would be. And so it seems like fentanyl has been the weapon of choice for most of these people. And so we're trying to discover how we would screen it effectively and quickly and still be able to manage the mail in a timely fashion. And then there are some other items that are their own animals, for instance, ballot boxes and things of that nature that require a lot more handling and pretty conspicuous handling. So first, I just want to get a map of where it is that the mail comes into, how we could manage it quickly with one or smaller amount of people who are well-trained to understand what we're looking for, and then pass it on to the people who need to use it.
Does the risk pool come out with recommendations on something like
I've
that?
asked them several times, and the best information came from the Department of Homeland Security. They, however, assume an unlimited budget, and it's kind of a ridiculous set of ideas. And so what I have done is I've reached out to counties who have been affected, and Skagit County was recently affected, and they're putting in best practices and they've hired a consultant to help them manage post-incident. It's a little sticky because some of the information that the consultant is offering is not sitting well with their legal department. And so we need to work through, I'm just riding their coattails a little bit. You know, they're starting the ball rolling, and I want to see how it works out with them, and I'd like to work with them and see what is effective.
I would imagine probably the first step is you collect mail with gloves. Right? That
Yeah,
initial-
I mean, at some point, there's going to be a methodology where we are going to have to utilize PPE, and we're going to have to add an extra step of, you know, someone who's trained and understands what we're looking for and has it in an area that's kept away from everybody else, and then what to do if we do find it. You know, we need to isolate it and prevent it from getting into somebody. And that's it. I'd like to take the moment too, just to say that fentanyl is something that has to be ingested. It has to get inside you and you can see it. And so I think it's something that we can manage once we're aware of what it is that we're looking for. It's not impossible to manage. It will become time consuming, and I don't think it'll be terribly expensive to manage. Okay, that's the biggest item on my agenda this week. And then also we have security contracts that are up, and I'm gonna meet with the regional manager tomorrow, I believe, actually with Sheriff Thurman, and we're gonna review the expectations of the coming year's contract and potentially look at putting out a request for bids next year.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Good. So I just wanted to say, the risk versus stakes kind of arguments is always something that comes to mind on any decisions here. And it's unstable out there, and somebody throwing stuff in the mail, even though we may know we're looking for fentanyl, let's say, maybe it's anthrax they're going to send, maybe it's plutonium.
Well, to that discussion, specifically, I know you were hypothetically saying, but the post office has very expensive machinery to screen for anthrax if it goes through the post office. But the bigger concern is when it's not fentanyl. That's a big concern to me, is to understand if it's not fentanyl, how are we going to look for it and what are we going to do to prevent it from getting into our people?
Yeah, but also the chain of custody on email is something that we don't know the chain of custody on the email, so I'm not sure any certification means anything.
That the post office certification?
Even the post office.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Well,
I'm just trying to point out that it may cost us a fortune to improve some percentage of something or other if we could ever compute it, and I don't know how we're going to do that.
well, so we can only address one issue at a time. And so I'm going to have to go with historically what has been provided to us. There have been different means of assaulting people through the mail, and we know some of them. So we'll go with what we know has happened and try to produce methodology that would address those specifically. And then, yeah, it's going to be difficult to try to navigate hypothetically what someone could put in the mail. Yes, I agree. But we can only address what we can address. And so I have some issues that are in the state that were not fentanyl, that are relatively close. They're in Washington state, and it was not powder and it wasn't fentanyl. So that one in particular, I'm trying to gather information on that's why I didn't bring it up. I have only secondhand information, but that one is the one I really want to address too, because that one is much more difficult to manage.
Are there is there new legislation regarding the penalty for putting fentanyl in the?
Oh, I hadn't looked into that at all.
Because a lot of times I think we become so permissive that lots of things are acceptable. Acceptable in quote marks, of course.
I did discover there's a branch of law enforcement I didn't know existed. The post office has their own, and apparently we're supposed to report to them any incident that's out of the ordinary. And it seems like the FBI is quick to pick up after them or take it over from them, especially when it's a high profile thing. But apparently we're supposed to alert I can't remember their acronym, but it's the post office police when something like that happens. I didn't even know that existed.
So I didn't catch everybody with whom you'll have a meeting. I'm assuming you'll include the PA's office in there.
What we're doing first is I was the assessor, auditor, our risk or our emergency management head, and then the sheriff. And so what I was trying to do with that is come up with just use a small party to get some ideas and some brainstorming in, especially with the offices that are most likely feeling like they're going to be affected, and then would move out to the footprint when we had ideas or needed more input. But of course, I will branch out. I thought it was more appropriate to start with a small pool of people who were interested and had ideas to begin with, just to get the ideas moving and to get something done more quickly.
Yeah, we're pretty stretched thin on the chief civil deputy side of things, on the civil deputy side of things. But other than that, it would be nice for them to know what your machinations are, because there are times I come up with 103 ideas, and unfortunately the PA says 104 of them are no good.
Oh, good. Yes.
From a legal standpoint. So
And that's why I mentioned early on is that Skagit's already had that trouble. And so she is sending me actually this morning the list of concerns that their legal has. And so I would like to have those in my hand before I even started.
And you might not realize, but right across the street is a postmaster.
I did
So,
find
yeah,
that out.
Connect that
Yeah,
then.
yeah.
Make sure they're.
I have an associate in Spokane who's a postmaster, and he sent me over there. And
Yeah,
so,
good.
yeah. Can I answer any other questions for you? That's it for me.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Budget.
Kathy Funk Baxter, Finance Director. I don't really have any major updates or things to bring to your attention today. We have a levy discussion tomorrow at the public meeting. And then we have a budget amendment the following Tuesday. And then we have the official budget for 24-25 presentation on the 19th.
19th. What day is that? Is that a,
Tuesday?
thank you. Makes sense, doesn't it? 12 plus 7. Doing arithmetic in the public eye, right?
Do you have anything for me?
I did have a question. A while back, we were discussing a contribution to NACO's Public Lands Institute, a research arm for Western counties, and I can't, and I don't know if that payment has been made. I think you had mentioned it would come out of the intergovernmental or non-governmental
Non-government,
departments.
non-departmental.
Yeah,
I can double check
okay.
for you on
'Cause I
that.
think you had mentioned that as well when,
NACO,
yeah, yes.
Yeah, I thought Wasack billed us and I
I don't,
thought it was paid. It was right around $2,000. It wasn't a
that wasn't a
ton.
huge amount.
so if it came through Wasack, I'll search that way.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
Can't remember if they,
Yeah, I thought it was Wasack, not
Yeah.
NACO.
just wanted to make sure that didn't get overlooked somehow.
So I'm concerned about that's in such a trite phrase. What are your expectations for what happens on the 19th regarding your part?
My expectations are that I would present to you the budget. And I know that I present ancillary information like how many FTEs the county has budgeted. And other, I have other charts and things like that I would be presenting to summarize the budget in general in terms.
Yeah, it's so typically in the past, we've done a single up and down vote on the budget. And the truth is that when electeds present to us their detailed, such and such, and then they get at the bottom, it's a lump sum. When we approve, what we're approving is a lump sum. Everything else in between is subject to change as I understand it. So even though it's been we approve it with the understanding that this money will go for that and this and so forth. We have no way of making that a requirement. So there are some things in the budget that specifically, I still want to argue out the drug court situation. And I know when we approve the budget, all that drug court money will be in there. And I don't know when we'll have an opportunity to discuss that again.
I will, at your pleasure, if you would like me to bring it beforehand, we had our budget workshops, and so if there's something you would like to change
Well, we
before
haven't
before we present-
specifically taken an up and down vote on drug court. And we haven't even specifically taken an up and down vote on the behavioral health tax. I think we've asked you to let it expire. And in that sense, if that's okay, I'm okay with it implicitly happening.
Yeah, it's in the budget to expire in March. No, we did not budget any additional revenue from that behavioral health tax.
Okay, well, I'll count on the chairman to tell me a time when it's adequate to discuss that.
Yeah. And as far as that one, I'm not familiar with if your Board of Health has to take a vote, also recommendation on that. I didn't know if there's a tie there at all.
In that sense, I don't know if I'm viewing it correctly, that the Board of Health has a purview, but when it comes to the dollar amounts, it always goes through the board
Yes.
and only the board.
So, however you would like me to present that.
Well, Wednesday. Yeah, we need to have those discussions before I
Before
think
the
the budget,
19th.
otherwise it could,
Yeah,
and I don't know how long Community House takes tomorrow on Wednesday, or if you'd even be able to bring some of that to us.
Yes, I can bring it this week if you want.
We want to do that, we might as well hammer that out. I mean, that's,
Yeah, I'll be happy. Do you want to see everything that's part that the mental behavioral health tax funds, or just anything, just drug court in particular?
well, we were given a sheet. I have a sheet right here that shows what the mental health
Yeah.
tag goes. So I know there's a sheet out there
Yes.
that does that.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Would you like me to bring that back, the entire funding
Yeah.
stream, or just in
it'd probably be
particular?
helpful, yeah.
Yeah, why don't we do that?
Okay,
And included the current or what you expect will be in the account at the end of March.
sure.
The other thing that I think would be useful is if you would include your recommendations for how we make up for the levy lid less than what we had originally funded the budget out. Showing us where you cut the $400,000 out.
Okay,
Okay.
can I do that this week?
Well, the sooner we know those facts, I think the better.
Yeah, the sooner the better. I think
Yeah,
from
better for me too.
from my perspective, this coming Wednesday is a good time, and if it takes us all day, that's okay with me.
Okay.
Hopefully, it's okay with, yeah.
Okay, that's what I'll do then.
We'll add you to Wednesday.
Anything else?
Isn't that enough?
That is enough. Gotta rush back to my office now.
Corrections.
Good morning, Marin Fox, Director of Corrections. I'll provide a brief update on our population to begin. Our population this morning was 196 with 33 bookings over the weekend, which is low and low, but typical for this time of year. Are there any questions on jail population information? And I wanted to provide an update on hiring as well. As you know, we've been down a number of positions, corrections officers positions specifically. We just hired another one that will be starting soon, which brings us down to 2 positions open, which is a big improvement. Most of those are in some sort of training still and have to go to the academy as well, to some extent, either equivalency or the full academy. And we do still have 5 officers off for medical reasons and 1 off for military. So even at full staff, we're down quite a number, but we're making it.
So you have 5 off for medical and 1 with the military commitments.
That's correct.
Wow.
Mhm.
And you said 2 are still going through a training and academy, or 2 that you've offered jobs to, or you haven't offered those?
We
Those
have-
are 2 positions you haven't been able to offer any to.
We have 2 positions that are vacant that we're still hiring for.
Okay.
And a number of positions in some phase of training, in the door, but in some phase of training.
Thank you.
We opened the position for the screening officer last week and have received quite a number of applications, and we're working on that. Unfortunately, we also posted for that mental health position and we've only received 1 application. So I'm not sure what that's going to look like, but I'll see if this week turns up more applicants, but otherwise we may have to have a discussion about that.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
that's all I have to report.
On the occupancy, in the past, because the profile of the inmates changed substantially, you're under a lot of pressure to accommodate single rooms, if you will.
Mhm.
Is that the case still?
Yes, not as dramatically as, when we have lower numbers, we will have lower number of the high needs inmates, but we're still experiencing obviously a lot of mental health, a lot of detox, I guess everything you're seeing in the streets, but it is lower. We're under a lower pressure point with our population being where it's at.
You typically have 6 people in a 6 people cell.
No,
You might, what might be the average occupancy of a 6 people cell if you ignore the ones which you've had to commandeer for just 1 person?
in general population, probably 4 is typical. 6
Yeah.
is, while the facility was built for that, 6 is a lot of adult men to have in a room 21 hours a day. So it will end up having people having to move out of a cell when we have 6 in there. So
But
like I said, the facility was built to me, a false number as far as
The thing I'm thinking about is 6, that's the maximum capacity in the big cell, right?
for many of our cells,
6.
yes.
And it's hard enough to be that packed with someone you like. How about with someone you distrust completely? So I'm just trying to lay a case that the usefulness of the jail at the moment is something we don't have to deal with today, but you've been dealing with the inadequacy for quite a while. I just like the public to know that there's a lot of dollars that will need to be spent at some point in time. And
Yes.
and I assume that you could you document the number of problems based, if there's a single person in a single cell, you have fewer problems than you have 4 people in a cell, right? But you choose the
Depends on the
occupants
single person.
carefully, right?
Yes. correct.
Yeah. Okay, anyhow.
But, and you touched on one of the key things. If they're in that cell with somebody that they can't stand, I mean, it doesn't matter how many people are in that cell, there's going to be problems. So
Right.
that's part of the screening and that's part of the effort to segregate people based on their acuity, their needs.
Right. If
So-
an inmate says, I can't live in this cell anymore, if you leave me in here, I'll get in a fight. Our hands are pretty much tied. We're going to have to remove that inmate. And that does happen, especially when they're overcrowded. They know what to say to
Well,
ease it up
that's
a
what
little
I'm
bit.
trying to find out is how you define overcrowded and how much time you spend trying to, well, we better move so-and-so here because they're
A lot.
troubled. That happens frequently or?
Correct. Yes. No, that's an everyday discussion. Even at my level, especially on a Friday, we spend a lot of time shuffling people around to make sure we can accommodate new bookings coming in.
And what is it that the average inmate keeps his personal belongings? Is it just like a toothbrush or the bed or,
They have
Books.
a gray bucket. It's about this big.
and that's it?
That's what their items are supposed to fit in. They're allowed 3 books, commissary, that sort of thing. But in general, they should be able to put all of their things in that bucket.
Does that, well, anyhow, lots of strange questions, sorry.
Well, as Marin's been sharing with us for quite a few years, that acuity problem has been there for a while. That's one of the skills that the officers develop just by knowing the type of personalities that are in and out, and they can anticipate on screening and the conversation with our guests.
And that jail mental health position is very important for that reason. To the Terrence who left was a very big asset to the county. He had 20 years of knowing these inmates. It makes it much different to assess people's mental health when you know them and you know their backstory. So it's an important position that we're going to hopefully get filled with the right person. I will say the Western State, we haven't discussed in a while. It has gotten better. They're getting people in more quickly there. So that's helped somewhat. That 9-month wait is, I'm not sure exactly where we're at, but probably 3 months, maybe less for some people, which is,
Oh.
it has improved. I don't know how exactly they've done it, but it has improved.
Yeah, that is better than what they were doing.
Yes.
Yeah,
All right. There's nothing else.
thank you. IT.
Good morning, Commissioners. Kim Hort, IT Director. IT is in our beta stage for deploying our new ticketing system. We are starting with the Assessor's Office and the Health Department to make sure that the communication and the systems are working correctly, because we are decommissioning our current system, which will save the county $10,000 per year.
So just for people who might have just dropped in, that's for if I'm in staff somewhere and I have a problem, I can submit to you a work request of some kind.
Yes. And the benefit of consolidating it into our asset management system is that we can now associate tickets with users and a device. So it would allow us to have better reporting of assets that are being difficult. People will never be difficult. It's just going to be the assets.
Is that the same system where if I wanted some specific hardware, I could fill in the ticket and say, I want this, and you would look at it?
We can do that. And then the goal is
No, when you say we can do that, I'm looking, it's specifically, yes, that's how I would do it?
yes,
Okay, thank you.
yes, along with software. So if you wanted to have like a clip it tool to where you can screenshot an image, that's the same system that we manage software as well.
But if I wanted a large monitor, I could,
Yes.
the same thing.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
And we've been meeting with the commissioner administrative staff to go over the changes for the retention policy and been working with legal. IT is also looking at our full chapter 4 IT policies because some of them are a little dusty and antiquated. So
We were supposed to have the retention policy appearing shortly.
we're sending that out to the departments
Oh,
and
that's right.
elected
That goes
officials
first.
first, just to get their feedback.
Yeah.
And then it's my understanding, once we get that, we'll make another small conversation with you and legal to kind of make sure that we're all on the same page, and then we'll present it publicly.
I understand that's going to be our Christmas present from staff.
It's a very thoughtful gift.
Yeah, just to be sure for it may pay, the retention policy is subject and subordinate to the administrative codes that prescribe this. And the policy we're talking about here is the umbrella policy. And feeding into that is going to be an input that we need from each of the departments.
Correct.
So it's not like the department is hands off. This is what we must comply with, the administrative codes. They must comply with our ordinance or our resolution. And so we still have some opportunity for change.
Yes, it's going to be a journey. Other than that, just busy working on year-end stuff and holidays. And so is there anything that you need from IT or questions that you have?
You got your new HVAC in?
Oh yeah, overnight.
Or no?
No, it's going to take maybe, I
You
think.
had me.
Haha. I think it's about 7 weeks of lead time, maybe 8. So I'll work with Kathy to make sure that the budget amendment is reflected in 2024. I do appreciate you guys approving that.
We appreciate the server room.
Yeah,
It's kind of important.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Miscellaneous.
Who's that strange individual in the audience?
Which one?
No. Kim.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah,
Would you like to apprise us of how the events center is doing? You don't have to, but we figured if you showed up that was a possibility.
Good morning, Kim Boquet with the Cowlitz County Event Center. I did not come prepared to speak other than just to have our position filled. We do have an event coordinator that's leaving us.
how many event coordinators do you have?
We have 3.
Okay.
Yeah, so they all do different things. The one that's leaving is our main conference center event coordinator. So, yeah, so we've been we started into our holiday parties. This last weekend, we had the Festival of Trees. It was a great event. Moving forward, we have a really busy first quarter, and we're going to be remodeling the restrooms. So the Public Facilities District has just signed a contract with J.H. Kelly to remodel our restrooms. So coming soon.
I remember in days gone by that trying to get an event in spring at the event center was pretty tough. It was booked and booked and booked. Is that what you see?
Yes. The spring tends to be fundraising season for our local nonprofits. So we have a lot of dinners and functions for that. So we have about an 8-week window that we're going to have to shut our restrooms down and use an alternate restroom. So that 8 weeks in the spring has been a little bit tough, but it sounds like February will be when we start.
Well, that would lead me to ask it, I think I used the restroom certainly last month. And I didn't come away saying, oh my God, better fix this. Why would we do this?
The facility is about 20 years old, and so they're just doing a complete facelift, and that's the first of 4 projects. So they'll be just changing the tile. They're reusing the dividers, but the tile, the bathroom counters are starting to lift. Some things are showing their age.
I resent that, but that's a different question. Don't recall a time when Better Homes and Garden displayed the bathroom in a public facility and said, this is the right bathroom.
Yet.
Yet, okay, very good.
Sunset Magazine, here we come.
Oh, yeah. The thing I'm mostly concerned about is I know that I'm a little bit myopic when it comes to spending money on something that is functionally acceptable. But trying to tell people they can't use the bathroom for 8 weeks is going to cause a good deal of discomfort. I wouldn't think that would be something. Can we do half the bathroom at a time or something like that?
We're working on, they call them princess potties, to where it's a fully functional restroom trailer.
A big trailer with steps going up to it like
Correct.
we've seen before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and unlike most public facilities, we rent the conference center, so keeping up with trends and not looking dated is important. So the bathrooms are important, but mainly what's being replaced, the countertops, the sinks, the fixtures, to touchless fixtures, just bringing us into the 21st century.
Are you going to tell me that in your research, you have gotten people to refuse to book because of the bathrooms? You're not going to tell me that, are you?
I will not tell you that. However, if I had $1 for every person that complained about the restrooms being so far away from their event room, I would be retired by now.
But you're not changing that.
Nope, not yet. Not yet. You'll see a new master plan and updated master plan. I believe we're looking at January now for Johnson Consulting and the Public Facilities District to meet with you to talk about the future master plan of the event center. So some of that does include some renovations of the event center itself, the conference center existing.
And as long as you're here,
Sure.
how are we doing on the trailer park or the RV park?
Good. So with the Johnson Consulting Master Plan, they had 2 options that they brought to the Public Facilities District Board with some pretty significant fundamental differences. But the one difference that, or the one thing that those 2 plans and some of their revised plans coming out of that was that the RV park would remain the property that I had surveyed will be the RV park. So I've reached out to Collins Architectural. That's our firm that the county has retained. They do not do RV parks. They've recommended AKS Engineering. So I will have to go out to a request for qualifications to design that RV park, and we're moving forward.
I had thought that there were a few space pads that had already been cut, not concreted in or anything like that. Is that true?
We have a couple places, but not, we have a caretakers area that was put in many years ago. That's over by the WSU extension, their storage facility. But as far as the RV park, we use that for the fair. And so we have 85 spots marked out, but they're not legal RV places. And we run extension cords during the fair. So it's not an actual RV park. We do have power and water out there. However, we upgraded the power several years ago. So that's one expense that we won't have moving forward.
Okay, I think Dennis approved like $500,000 for that.
$300,000, 3 years in a row.
Correct.
Yeah, $900,000.
Yes.
So
And we have spent some of that for the AKS came in and did the survey on the property. So we have that. And then we'll be, like I said, we'll be moving forward. I've worked with like Collins Collins Architectural got back to me right before Thanksgiving saying that really wasn't in their wheelhouse. So made some recommendations as how we could move forward.
So it sounds like you have enough agreement with the plans that you actually know what you're gonna do with the RV park now, once the engineering is done. And you have a timetable, more or less?
Soon. I really hope soon.
So by soon, I mean, like this time next year, do you expect you'll have it built out? I don't,
I wouldn't expect that, no. Once I meet with whomever's going to do the overall plan, I think that will give us a nice timeline. And then once the Public Facilities District adopts their master plan, that will also kind of help to see what project they're going to move forward with first.
okay. I hate to think about what the price tag is now.
Yes. Thankfully, it's not a lot of, it's construction, but it's earthwork, dirt work, concrete.
So during the pandemic, your activities, took a hit, and we replaced that with some of the judicial activities. Where are we in the build back up? Are we at 75% of pre-COVID or 95%, or are we breaking records?
Financially, we're breaking records.
Okay.
Event days were not, but there was a lot of event days that happened pre-COVID that aren't happening anymore, that we would count as an event day, such as we had a small church that met with us every Sunday. So there was 4 event days a month that we don't have anymore. We had a couple of small support groups that met with us a few days a week. Those were counted as event days. Those don't meet with us anymore. Many of those things have gone virtual. So as far as event days, those numbers aren't quite pre-COVID, but financially we're doing great. Financially, as far as revenues coming in, this year's been the best year so far financially that we've had on record.
And that's a combination of the venue customers paying the rental fees and the subsidy from the PFD, or
The subsidy hasn't changed. It's rentals.
rentals?
And we haven't increased our rental rates. So that's also a telling sign too that they're moving in the right direction. People are coming back. We've got quite a few new clients that have started booking with us. Our main focus is midweek, multi-day events. And we're really starting to see those. We have one in-house right now that's a 5-day training. They have 3 or 4 more booked for 2024. So that marketing is working. We're bringing those groups in.
Nice.
And then our holiday, the holiday party season, it's a great venue for our local companies to use to celebrate their employees. But that's not really our bread and butter. We like that. We like to be there for those, but really that corporate business is what we want. That's going to be putting the heads in beds in our facility or in our community, bringing people from more than 50 miles away to come spend time in our community. So that's really what our goal is.
And I think if motel is built, it just helps all that.
It will. It
Yeah.
will. Yeah, our hotel motel community is quite tired. A little spark of good news is one of the hotels over in Kelso has been undergoing a renovation. So I'm excited to go tour that. So that'll be a great place, hopefully, for our conference attendees to stay until we get something a little bit closer.
Good.
Things are moving forward at the event center.
And I guess that'll teach you a lesson to come next time, right?
Yeah. Gosh, Jessica. No. I don't mind giving you an update.
I like it. I don't know how you gentlemen feel. This is really useful.
We haven't had our monthly liaison report with budget hearings and such. I haven't had a chance to come over and update you. So I apologize. I wasn't a little bit better prepared, but.
Well, also, it doesn't necessarily have to be on the clock.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks, Kim. Any other miscellaneous? We will adjourn this one and reconvene at 11 for public services.